Turkey's Agricultural Practices by Ava Radley, Alex, Fatima Gorbani, and Chinelo Osuki. Hey, did you know that Turkey is the world's seventh largest agricultural producer? I wonder then why around 14.8 million people in Turkey suffer from some form of malnourishment.
Well, Alex, the thing is that although Turkey has the resources, labor, and land to do so, as soon as those crops are picked up from the field, they are not efficiently used.
Hey Ava, what do you mean by that?
What I mean is, they need to implement better post-harvest practices, or else the food will be wasted. Let me give you an example. After the crops have been harvested, if they are not stored properly in a cold refrigerated container, then the food will go bad quickly. So essentially, the food gets wasted, and this is just the start. This is called a cold chain, which is a low-temperature controlled supply chain network or a series of refrigerated production, storage, and distribution.
Oh, does this mean that we need to be focusing on the cold chain as soon as the food is harvested? From storage to transportation to distribution.
Exactly. And did you know that 86% of food warehouses don't have modern cold chain infrastructures and facilities? We cannot tackle just one area of the cold chain. In order to make perishable goods, which are goods that become unsafe to eat if left unrefrigerated, last as long as possible to reach consumers, we need to make sure that all areas of the cold chain are properly regulated and maintained.
Right, and since the majority of Turkish agriculture occurs in the farmlands away from large cities such as Istanbul and Ankara, I think that the transportation aspect is really important because during the journey, if the food goes bad, by the time it reaches the stores, then it just simply gets thrown away.
Indeed. In fact, according to the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, around 70% of all food trucks in Turkey are not refrigerated, and to me, that number is astounding, considering that, as you said, they have to travel really long distances to reach major population centers.
That number is actually really high, so how do we go around and fix this? Do we simply just give everyone a fridge and call it a day?
Well, I wish it were that simple, but it is a bit more complicated than that. Let me bring in another on the field to answer all your questions, okay?
Hi, my name is Fatemeh, and you have raised some pretty good points on this. So firstly, we need to make sure that people, especially farmers and people along the supply chain, understand the importance of keeping the crops refrigerated. So for that, we should have educational workshops about proper packing and post-harvest practices available for them.
That is a great idea, educating people about proper post-harvest practices. Now, let me go back to my one fridge per person idea. Do you think the government should be taking initiative to make sure that does occur and cold chains are properly implemented?
Yes, I believe that the government should set regulations on every step of the cold chain to ensure that food that gets harvested is stored cold properly, so it stays cold all along its journey. And once it gets to the consumers, it also stays fresh as well. I also believe that businesses can provide help too, by designing instructional environmentally positive product labels for consumers so that they don't unnecessarily waste edible food.
Hey Fatima, what about food inflation or the environmental aspects of cold chains?
Food inflation is reaching new limits in Turkey, and an effective cold chain will reduce the amount of food being wasted. An integrated cold chain is also sustainable, as it will reduce the carbon footprint and harmful greenhouse gas emissions created from food loss.
Oh, okay, Fatima, thank you so much. A more efficient, sustainable cold chain and post-harvest practices can be achieved through several smaller, individual steps, and is definitely necessary. I now better understand what needs to be done in order to tackle the food waste issues in Turkey.
Great! So hopefully everyone has got an idea of what we want to do in order to achieve zero waste, zero hunger in Turkey. The main issue, as we have discussed before, does not lie on the food production itself, as Turkey produces with a large surplus, but instead lies on what happens after the crops have been harvested. If we can solve this problem, then we believe that we can achieve zero waste, zero hunger in Turkey slowly but surely.
Here are the sources, and thank you so much for listening to our presentation.